Here is your Golfer's Almanac for June 12th. Today is also the birthday of Mark Calcavecchia, born Mark John Calcavecchia in 1960 in Laurel, Nebraska. He grew up in the Palm Beach area and befriended and competed against Jack Nicklaus's son, Jackie. Calcavecchia golfed for the University of Florida Gators and turned pro in 1981. He won 13 times on the PGA Tour, including the Open Championship in 1989 at Royal Troon. Calcavecchia beat Greg Norman and Wayne Grady in a 4-hole playoff. He played on 4 Ryder Cup teams, winning in 1991 at Kiowa. Calcavecchia holds the record for consecutive birdies on the PGA Tour with 9 at the second round of the RBC Canadian Open in 2009. Amazing. Mark, happy birthday. Today is the birthday of Max Marston, born Maxwell Ralston Marston in 1892 in Buffalo, New York. Marston was a phenomenal amateur golfer of the day, though in the 1915 U.S. Amateur, in his quarterfinal match, he was one up going into the final 36th hole. He missed a very short putt that would have put him into the championship match. The putt was somewhere between 6 and 18 inches. Grantland Rice called it the most famous missed putt in American golf. Ouch. I feel you, Max. For the next 8 years, he couldn't get out of the first round in the U.S. Amateur. But in 1923, he won it, beating Bobby Jones, Francis Ouimet, and then in the finals, the defending champion, Jess Sweetster. Justice in golf history. On this day in 1894, at the Open Championship at Royal St. George's in Sandwich, England, J.H. Taylor won by 5 strokes over Douglas Rowland. This was Taylor's first of 5 Open Championships, but more important, this was the first victory in an Open Championship by a non-Scottish professional, and the first time the Open Championship was held outside of Scotland. On this day in 1936 at the Women's Western Open, Opal Hill beat Mrs. Charles Dennehy 3-2 at Topeka Country Club. Hill defended her title, having won the previous year at Sunset Ridge in Chicago. These were the only 2 majors Hill won in her career. She was in her 40s at the time, and in 1950, Hill was one of the 13 original founders of the LPGA. On this day in 1939, Byron Nelson won the U.S. Open at the Philadelphia Country Club. This was Nelson's only U.S. Open win, and it took him a total of 36 playoff holes for the victory against Craig Wood and Denny Shute. After the first 18-hole playoff, Nelson and Wood were still tied, and so they played a second 18-hole playoff the next day. This was Nelson's second of 5 majors in his career, and it took 108 holes. In 1947, on this day, at the British Women's Amateur at Gullin, Babe Dietrichson Zaharias became the first American to win the Ladies Amateur. The tournament was first played in 1893. She'd won the 1946 U.S. Amateur and so was only the 4th to ever win both of these most prestigious amateur titles. And on this day in 2016, Brooke Henderson becomes the youngest player to win the LPGA Championship at Sahalee Country Club in Seattle. She finished with a 65, tying Lydia Ko, and then birdied the first extra hole for the win. Ko is still the youngest to win a major on the LPGA Tour with her 2015 Evian Championship. Henderson was also 18, though 5 months older when she won this LPGA Championship, her first and only major to date. Finally, on this day in 2015, Dolphus Hull passed away in Jackson, Mississippi. He was 72 years old. His full name was Dolphus Allen Hull, but he went by Golf Ball or just Ball. He was a caddy on the PGA Tour in the 1960s and 70s, mostly for Raymond Floyd. Hull wore a pork pie hat and strutted down the fairways with massive confidence and a unique knowledge of golf that helped Floyd win golf tournaments. Rest in par, Golf Ball Hull. Here's a quote today from Raymond Floyd. Steve Williams was the most professional caddy I ever had, but Golf Ball was the best. That's it for today in golf history. Play fast, repair all the pitch marks you can find, and keep your golf ball in the short grass. Your Golfer's Almanac is a GolfToons production. It's written, produced, and narrated by me, Michael Duranko. I invite you to check out our original golf illustrations and the humor essays that accompany each of the golf cartoons. Tour Backspin is a weekly golf history newsletter that celebrates the PGA Tour in the 1960s and 70s with tie-ins to today's tour. They offer a bunch of content, contests, and other interesting bits. See the link in the show notes and subscribe.